Tonga and Samoa, folks. 34-9 ends up being a bit of a hiding, with the Tongans sadly seemingly kind of having regressed from a few weeks ago, whereas the Samoans played a lot better against Tonga than they did against Fiji. We'll go through some of the key events. Sadly, there's no stats up on this one just yet. I'm not sure if they'll come through belatedly, but yeah, it was a weird one in terms of the fact that Tonga seemed to come out of the blocks a wee bit faster. Remember, Tonga had looked all right in their game against Japan, although they didn't kind of convert on some of their chances. Perhaps the travel factor wasn't kind to them because I said they started faster, but in the second half they were kind of all at sea at times. But I mean, Big Ben Taumifuna got smashed early by Alatoa and Luatua. Good to see those guys, putting a big hit even if they conceded a penalty, which led to the initial points of the game, which was Tonga 3-0 up. Havili kicked that one. It did get a little bit scrappy. The ref, Angus Gardner, who my dad, because he sat down and watched this game with me, he was chewing the props out like, you guys are experienced, you know each other, not having any nonsense. Angus Gardner, not having any bar of it. It got to the point where the Samoan guys were under a yellow card warning for too many penalties conceded. So that's what I mean about the momentum being with the Tongan guys early. And I should have said at the start, I watched this way after the fact on replay because this was on more or less at the same time as the All Blacks and Wallabies game, which I kind of gave priority. But still sat down to watch it pretty much straight after the other game concluded. Didn't know the result either, which was pretty pleasing. Samoa got their first points on a quarter of an hour. A long penalty from Luia. He's got a big boot on him, which was pretty pleasing to see. 3 points apiece. And then the first kind of like proper, genuine, get your teeth into it try-scoring chance was the Samoan guys in 20 minutes. 5-meter scrum. They attacked. They got some advantage. And eventually, the hooker, Malolo, he was able to go over and made it 10 points to 3. So Samoa got themselves in front. They would never relinquish that lead back to the Tongan guys, although it did go back to being, a pretty tight one later on, until it wasn't. Havili, sadly, Tonga had a few injuries in this one. He goes off injured, looked like it was ankle, so fingers crossed he's all right. But Malsia came on and he kicked the next three-pointer penalty for Tonga to make it 10 points to 6. So kind of back to a close one. And then, speaking of injuries, this time for Samoa, Saltini, the midfielder, clocked his head into Malsia from the restart, and he was pretty much out cold. So he's going to have to take a break in terms of his concussion recovery. I'm sure because it seemed pretty bad. They walked off the pitch, but they were calling for the stretcher because he was out for a wee while. So Samoa missed the penalty after that one. And then Tonga, man, I'd love to see their line-out stats. I should have counted them as the game was going. But boy, their line-out was bad. Started in the first half and it didn't get any better in the second. They missed so many opportunities because of their line-out. But, both sides kind of missed a few chances. And then Malsia had a long penalty on 36 minutes to bring it back to a 1-point game. 10 points to 9. But that's the final scoring for the Tongans. And the second half, Samoa aren't going to have that same issue. Samoa did get one in reply not long later. So halftime, it's 13-9, which is still game on. But then Piatau goes off for Tonga as well. So their kind of back reserves are looking a bit thin at that point. I mean, Solomon Akata has a big carry. He seems always really fired up every time he gets in the Tongan colours. But then Samoa in return wanted to play really quickly. They were trying to play high-tempo rugby. And eventually it wasn't the kind of high-tempo game, but it was the maul. On 47 minutes, the big Samoan maul, after opting not to go for a 3-pointer, pays off. Miracle Failangi is able to go in for the try. So that starts to make it look a little bit of a decent buffer. It's 20 points to 9. Tonga did have another chance in Samoa's half, but their line-out went awry again. I was shaking my head at them. And then basically in reply from that turnover ball, Samoa got on the other end. There's a bunch of guys who had carries. McFarland had a carry from the bench. Aloamili had a carry. It's Paiawa who's able to finish it off. It's proper counter-attacking stuff. We turn over the ball, turn defense into attack, and man, it's 27-9. Looking like it's going to be a long day at the office. I mean, it continues. It's all Samoa. Fido has a big line break. Again, the line out's poor. Penalties conceded from Tonga. They are starting to get under the pump. And eventually the final try of the game comes through Matavao, the replacement halfback, with Tonga kind of just conceding penalty after penalty. He just takes a quick tap and go, and nobody can stop him. So it's 34-9. There's no scoring for the final quarter of an hour, but Samoa went close. I mean, Peter Aki put in one try saver off Fido. There was at least one other time when the Samoan guys looked like they were going to score, but somehow Tonga's defence managed to hold out. Formai got a yellow card at the end for Samoa for a trip. I mean, the Tongan guys kept running up. The ref asked at the end, Solomon Okada, do you want to keep playing or do you want to kick it out? He said, we'll keep playing. But they still couldn't get any points. And sadly, concerningly, no tries. The line-out, honestly, was really, really, really quite bad. But yeah, it's interesting because Samoa last week against Fiji weren't really able to let rip in terms of their like backline getting engaged and, you know, chewing up some run meters and whatnot. Whereas this week, especially in the second half, things started to click, which going into a World Cup, that's very encouraging for Tonga. Man, it's, as I said, they seem to be getting further off the pace, which is a bit concerning. Like, this is the game you would have thought that they would have been kind of up for, and it's their fourth game, because they've played Australia A, they've played Japan, they've played Fiji, and they've got some of their big guns back, so yeah, they are not really firing. So it's a little bit of a worry. But anyway, 34-9, bit of a lopsided one, but we'll still wait to see what happens with Japan and Fiji later on. I'll probably miss that one live as well because I'm going to head for the sack early and get up and watch all the games overnight here in New Zealand and then probably watch Fiji and Japan tomorrow morning. I will endeavour to avoid spoilers and whatnot. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. How do you reckon Samoa is tracking? Much improved from last week. And Tonga, as I said, seemingly a little bit off the boil. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.